but you're in charge of it. What do you do?
Oh man, I'd go scorched earth and I'd end every contract with every nonprofit. And I'll just use San Francisco as an example. I'd end every contract with every nonprofit. If I was like governor, I'd reverse SB 1380, which ties sobriety requirements to housing in order to receive state funding. I'd work, well, see, there's so many problems. Like we have bad judges. So like, even if you get a good DA, you need the judges to actually like convict them. But anyway, I would, enlist, I would reach out to the federal government and be like, hey, we're going to take, Treasure Island or like one of these islands. We're going to build like a temporary.
We're going to build a FEMA camp.
We're going to build a camp. And when homeless people are like doing something. Now, listen, if you're just homeless, we're
going to reopen. What's that place off the fucking.
Yeah, Alcatraz.
Yeah, we're going to reopen
that would be a great location. It's like the structure's already there. We wouldn't have to build anything. And it's like, we're not going to round people up, but like, if you're caught stealing to support your habit, you're going to Alcatraz. If you're like living in your car and you're homeless, you're going to Alcatraz. But we're going to help you. Like Alcatraz is not a good example.
This is so weird though, because I had a dream that this actually happened. Like I had a dream that they were putting people on Alcatraz again.
Well,
and they were like homeless, mentally ill people.
Alcatraz is not a good example, but basically like reach out, like have a place and it's like, okay, come here. Why are you homeless? There's 3 groups. Economic reasons. Okay, we're going to just help you.
Right.
Okay. Oh, you're a single mom living in a car. We're getting you housing. There is, we've built temporary housing. That housing should be specifically reserved for people that are not on drugs and not mentally ill. And maybe they're single moms, or maybe they lost their job, or maybe they broke their leg.
What percentage of homelessness is
very
that?
Small.
Yeah.
Very small.
This is like the kind of mythical homeless person, it exists, but it's like, it's not, I don't think it's as large as people in government and power like you to think that it is.
No, it's not. And also those people, first of all, they're the easiest to help because they literally just need a leg up. Second of all, they usually have family that haven't abandoned them, or they have friends. They have an opportunity. They can sleep on a couch. They can call their aunt in Indiana, maybe get a bus ticket. Yeah, they can. But like me, like I didn't have that couch. I had those couches. I burned every bridge because I'm a meth head.
Yeah.
So like, so I went through that phase. So those people are easy to help. And then anyone like committing a crime to support their drug habit, or anyone acting out in an anti-social manner, which affects the civil liberties of others, meaning you're swinging a machete around at a McDonald's. You're going to Alcatraz, not as prison, but we're just going to evaluate you. Okay, what's going on? Do you have a history of mental illness? Do you have a history of drug addiction? Is it purely just drug addiction, or is it drug addiction and mental illness? That will matter for where we put you next. And what we will have next is we will have long-term treatment centers and reopen mental hospitals. And you go to one of those 2. The long-term treatment centers, we're going to, hopefully 6 to 12 months, we're going to work with economic experts that know the direction of labor needs in this country. We're going to start training people to become self-sufficient. We're going to link with the federal government for the infrastructure bill that Biden passed. Who knows where that money's going, but let's say it's going to fix bridges. Okay, we need X amount of welders. We need X amount of linemen to keep up the electrical grid. We'll create, it's almost like an FDR style, like, we're going to rebuild America, and we're going to get these people.
And we're going to use the junkies.
We're going to use the junkies because the greatest tool to get off heroin or get off drugs and remain off drugs is to establish a sense of self-esteem and a sense of purpose. And if you don't have strong underlying mental illness, you can recover.
Yeah.
You can recover if you have mental illness as well, but you can recover and like become self-sufficient. And we're going to help you. We're going to hold your hand over 1 to 2 years and guide you to self-sufficiency and no more swinging a machete around. And that seems
obvious.
It seems obvious. It seems expensive. But then again, California spent $24 billion in the past 5 years to address homelessness, and it has gotten worse.
And I don't know that there's been any real accounting of where that money went. So they tried to like audit this.
They did, yeah.
And then Newsom shot it down or something. There's no...
Well, they looked into it. So of the 24 million, 16 million went to 5 entities.
Million or billion?
Oh, sorry, 16 billion.
Okay.
Went to 5 entities, 2 of which were found to have been cost effective. So that's not a good start. Where's a lot of this money going? It's getting pocketed. It's getting laundered. It's getting stolen. If I want to start a nonprofit in San Francisco, I could start a treatment center, that would require a lot of work. Or I could get like a red flyer, like red wagon thing and pass out crack pipes and get a $5 million contract to do that. You know, if you're like a slimy person, you're going to go for the latter. It requires no work and you can just steal millions of dollars. And all you need is a wagon and some crack pipes.
And that's called what?
Harm reduction.
Harm reduction.
Yeah.
So what can you explain to people who may, like you and I know what this is, but can you explain it to people why they think handing out crack pipes is helpful?
Well, it all starts from handing out needles. They didn't hand out needles. They exchanged needles to prevent the spread of HIV. And I utilize needle exchanges, and I probably don't have HIV because of it. So I'm not against harm reduction.
Right.
But it got radicalized.
Yeah.
And it used to be run by ex-junkies. Now it's run by like people that majored in sociology from UC Santa Cruz and like, you know, maybe dyed their hair blue and they, you know, don't really know what's going on. And
they don't get it.
Yeah. So these people need to justify their funding. And with the onset of fentanyl, a lot less people are shooting drugs now. You smoke fentanyl on tinfoil. So they had to switch gears. The HIV angle doesn't work anymore because you can't pass HIV with tinfoil and crack pipes. So they argued that you could pass HIV with a crack pipe if you cut your lip on the crack pipe and then shared it with someone. So that was the justification for handing out crack pipes. The justification for handing out tinfoil, I know people that get paid $30 an hour to go walk around homeless encampments and hand out tinfoil.
Wow.
You know, and I used to go in the garbage can and find a half-eaten burrito and rip the tinfoil off and smoke burrito and heroin together. I mean, that's what I had to do. You know, these guys are getting Uber Eats delivery tinfoil.
You're like, it's bullshit. The kids these days don't know what it's like to dumpster dive and have to find a burrito and take the like, that's how I feel about weed. I'm like, you kids don't know what it's like to have to go sit with some shitty dealer who wants to talk to you about surfing while he tries to make out with you.
Yeah, you used to have to risk rape to buy a dub sack of weed.
Yeah.
You know, now you just
regularly.
Regularly.
Or like give an HJ, you know?
You used to have to I didn't have to do that, but yeah, I know women that had to do that or did that.
Yeah,
you know?
just easier.
Yeah.
It's easier than getting raped.
Exactly. You know how many times I've been robbed trying to buy a dime of weed?
Oh, I'm sure.
You know, so yeah, it was a lot harder. But yeah, so now people start nonprofits, they get the $2 million contract, they hire some idiot and give him $30 an hour to hand out tinfoil.
That's fucking nuts. So what's the justification for tinfoil?
There is no justification. It's harm reduction. It's like helping homeless people. But that's not helping homeless people.
How do you think progressivism got so distorted that it seems almost like this idea that it's a humanitarian cause, but it seems very dehumanizing?
Well, it needs to, it's almost like capitalism. It needs to grow. It needs to keep growing. And like once you solve one problem, well, then we need to make money in another way. And it's like, it keeps going and going. And it's gotten to the point where like, it's like a vacuum that needs to suck up government funding. And so it will move to every corner and it reached the corner finally of like homeless meth head drug addicts that are humans that deserve help. But this is not helping, and helping them does not equal more funding. But maintaining them and doing like urban farming of the homeless, that does justify more funding. So it's sort of like, it's just this thing that needs to keep growing.
Is this like big NGO?
Yeah.
Have you read State of Fear by Michael Crichton?
No, I haven't.
It's all about this. It's more about eco-terrorism, but basically this idea that, you know, in order to justify like your war against the climate, you need to have these very extreme climate things like that are happening now. This is one of the other conspiracies going around.
Yeah. Well, he was an absolute genius and he predicted almost everything that we're going through right now. He predicted it in the 90s.
Yeah. He got canceled for this book.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I know. He's been canceled a few times.
So, that's kind of what I think a lot about that book, even and now, like you're saying, it moved to this corner where now we have to like maintain this population of human zombies in order to maintain and justify the presence of all of these ridiculous organizations and even state-run funding, and that all the money that's coming for these bills, you know, people are like, oh, this was something that always drove me so crazy. The arguing over whether to call somebody, you know, a person experiencing houselessness or the unhoused or whatever. I'm like, you're not fucking helping them with this language.
Yeah. I mean, if you've been homeless, you use the term homeless. If you use the term unhoused, I know that you slept on a couch for 2 weeks and you weren't actually homeless. But yeah, they play these games. I mean, this is what they do, you know? And the bottom line is that they're not trying to fix anything. It's a jobs program.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And is it malicious? Is there like powerful entities at the top that are trying to like disorganize society? Is it weaponized? Are people weaponizing homelessness to like, you know, create instability? I don't know. That's above my pay grade, you know?
So what happens to this whole group of people in your, you know, Alcatraz vision of the future? What happens to them? Do they become homeless?
No, they live there. You know, I've been to programs, like I went to a program called the Midnight Mission that was like a 12 to 24 month program. I would just model it after that, where it's like we hold your hand. There's graduated levels of reintroducing you into independence.
That's like where I lived, the halfway house.
Yeah, like eventually you make your way into like the dorm area as opposed to like the just sleeping on a mattress. And then you get then the third floor was like apartments. And it's like, okay, now you're in the apartments and you get more freedom.
Yeah.
You get to go to work and all that. And we just reintroduce you into society. And maybe we give you a stipend for housing on the contingency that you remain sober and employed for 6 months or something, just to get you back on your feet. But like this whole just like, here's a studio apartment, call us when you OD on fentanyl it's not a lasting strategy.